It's my neighbour. She's always watching the weird Asian shows, movies. Yeah, just had my melatonin gummies. I've been on the melatonin for a little while. A couple of years now. I think I've really mastered how to get the most effect out of them. So for 2 years, I've been on no more than 10 milligrams. 10 milligram gummies, but I take two. I've tried with 1, 2, 3, and 4 even. Two is definitely the best. So I've learned to manage my sleep cycle using the gummies because I've seen, from a lot of research, asking a lot of people that have tried them. Sorry, my compulsiveness kicking in. I'm just tidying up the desk a bit. I've asked a lot of people that were on them. So I've heard so many crazy different freaking experiences, man. People having obviously like deeper sleep, crazier dreams and all that. I've got a laptop stand. I feel like the camera's a bit higher up. People waking up really even worse, like feeling more tired, more drowsy. Obviously waking up in the wrong cycle, right? So because you've got the 90-minute circadian rhythm cycles. If you're taking, it's pretty much one gummy for 3 hours, right? Which is just 2 cycles, right? So I take 2, knowing that I'm gonna have at least if you know you're going to have at least minimum 6 hours, then you take 2. If you know you're going to have minimum 9 hours, then you pop another one, right? But that's the thing, people are just popping, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Let's say they've got to be up in 4 or 5 hours, so they want to get a deeper sleep, so they're just popping 1 or 2, right? The amount of melatonin getting stimulated is obviously trying to keep you asleep for longer. So, and then you're waking up in a deep cycle of sleep. So you're actually going backwards, right? I think, after a couple of years, I've really managed to get the sleep down. Obviously, most nights are good. I know when I'm going to get at least 6 or 7 hours. It's not about what time I wake up. That's the psychological thing that will never allow you to sleep. It's knowing that you have to sleep by a certain time and wake up by a certain time. Don't put a deadline on your wake up time, like an alarm. You just plan to sleep. You need at least 5 or 6 hours. So if you need 5 or 6 hours minimum, you just plan to sleep. Whatever time you fall asleep, you just plan to wake up, whatever time it's going to be, 5 or 6 hours. So if you end up sleeping at 2 a.m., you know roughly what time you fell asleep around 2 a.m. So you know not to get up at least properly, like past 8 o'clock, So it takes practice, obviously, getting used to knowing what time you're up, you know what I mean? You just kind of feel your body. Okay, it's too tired. It's too exhausted. I must be up in the wrong sleep cycle. And then I find myself being able to go back to sleep much easier, and then waking up a lot more fresh. Right? Sometimes the other way around. Sometimes I know if I wake up first early, I feel much more energized. So I get up because I know if I go back to sleep and wake back up, it's just going to be way worse. So. I just wanted to, if it helps anyone, watching, anyone that's on a melatonin, I thought I'd give my honest, genuine, it's two years worth of trialing and practicing, so it should have some value. I know if you're watching this, you're it's not about, you know, being in the best position you are in your life. Not physically, but I know you're in a really good place mentally, at least in a really positive wavelength, or, you know, high frequency, just a positive consciousness, wherever you are, however, you know, whatever your situation is. I've been pondering a lot and reflecting and meditating. I can only really meditate at the moment if I'm going for a good walk, or even like on the bike. On really how to structure everything, you know. I'm not talking myself out of making more content. I'm just kind of just reconsidering how to go about it, because now that I've started, I've begun trying to explain my experiences and my awakening, my spiritual awakening, and my esoteric perspective on understanding God and spirituality. Just my whole approach is, I've realized only now that after trying to do it, I've realized how big this mountain is, right? To like try and climb. And I've realized, you know, I was watching all my other videos, and it's like I'm just trying to cover this whole mountain in one video, you know. This is over, in the past year and a half, well over 30 to 40 textbooks, well over 600 hours of lectures and seminars and classes, and who knows how many more hours pondering and lecturing, meditating. So I figured that I'm just going to chip away at this knowledge, trying to elaborate this knowledge and understanding, literally, you know, like tiny chunk at a time, right? And it's time is irrelevant, but when it comes to YouTube, I guess I gotta keep it, you know, at least, you know, regulated. So I want to talk about, let's go to the beginning and start at my first understanding of how this Jungian psychology approached understanding the subconscious mind, right? Carl Jung, his therapy and his practice was predominantly male psychology, right? And masculine therapy. But everything really parallels to the feminine, right? I guess, like, I can't really say what began my like fascination and interest in the subconscious. I'd say, I mean, I did a little major in psychology years ago after I graduated aviation. Chose to major in psych because some of the subjects that we were doing, just basic like introduction to psychology. So I think my interest really started when I was studying something completely different. You know, obviously it was my passion and interest, to fly planes. I think one day I'll be a pilot. Haven't got my CPL, my commercial license. I waited on a government-funded list for a few years to get on this full government-funded list for a commercial license in Victoria. So I got approved last year, I think. So now it's just a matter of dedicating full time, 6 days a week to training and stuff. So, but that's where the psychology avenue began. You know what I mean? During my aviation at uni, I just took like a basic interest, right, in psychology. We were studying, it was like limitations of the human brain or something. I think that's what the main textbook was called. Just basic like introduction to psychiatry, neurophysiology, that's how you say it. Just pretty much like studying how to professionally train your mind to behave in a professional way under obviously like extremely stressful work environments, right? Being like an airline pilot or something. So barely really got into like subconscious stuff. And then I'd say 2 years ago, I found when I really got, 3 years ago, so 2022, end of 2022 is when I decided to actually think that it was possible even to become an entrepreneur, right? I was in crypto for a while. It taught me fucking so much, honestly. Like, I learned more. That was the biggest profit, I guess, just learning like trading psychology and all that. And by the time I feel like I really mastered how the game was played, I just lost interest, honestly. Like, same one on this journey, like the one I always speak about, my cousin. We were too heavily invested, just like most of the demographic, that retail investor demographic. And then by the end of 2022, I decided to look deeply and truly at what it actually meant to become an entrepreneur, right? And it's, to my absolute shock and existential crisis, I realized, okay, you've told, this God's created universe. You haven't just told it consciously now that you want to take the reins, right, of your own reality, because you've been telling it consciously for years. As long as you can remember that you wanted to become free, right, and you wanted to take control over your reality, as long as you can consciously remember, it's probably since like you're a teenager. But quite frankly, this universe does not communicate through your consciousness, right, through physical effect and through physical prayer and physical ritual, right? It communicates to the collective unconscious. Right? That was, honestly, if we skip right to the end of Carl Jung's research, his ultimate conclusion is, that the human unconscious is a collective energy, right? It's universal. It's one consciousness. It's one eternal consciousness, and that's completely in tune with the universe, the physical universe. And for years, I told the universe and God consciously, that I wanted to take control of my reality. So, at a young age, we got heavily invested into crypto. We got heavily invested into buying our freedom without subconsciously becoming the person that can design a reality that would allow us to live in freedom, right? So we thought that we could just buy our freedom, right, and our reality. We didn't realize that we weren't asking to just, become rich and gain freedom, right? We were telling the universe that we want to control our entire reality based off, winning a few trains, right? That's why the universe never responded. It's because consciously it knows, obviously, who we want it to be. But subconsciously, unconsciously, we knew and it knew we were never that person. We never identified with the kind of character, the kind of person that is able to create their reality and design their universe. I mean, you hear it all the time, like on YouTube. You see these guys, or you hear it all the time if you listen to true, honest content, like of people that have, living life on their own terms, in their own reality, right? They're not millionaires because of what they have, right? Because of what they purchased. They're not a millionaire because they have millions of dollars in the bank account. They are millionaires because of the person that they are, their identity, who they know, they know who they've realized they are, right? So they, in their subconscious, their true self believes that they're this kind of person that can do what it takes effortlessly to build a life and a reality that they can completely live based on their own terms and no one else's, right? When they subconsciously became in tune, so their subconscious became in tune with their physical character. So their true identity started to match their external actions, right? Their physical actions. They became in tune, and the universe recognizes that this is the person that they truly believe they are, right? And then the universe is just designed to survive, right? Propagate. It's nature. Nature only has one obligation, and that is to survive and expand, right? I mean, it's infinite. It's eternal. It just keeps reproducing. So all it knows is to grow and reproduce. So if subconsciously you're the person that you truly believe is, incapable and deprived, it doesn't know, it can't tell the difference between negative and positive. It just confirms your reality. The universe just gives you what you're asking it, what your identity is asking it for. It's just trying to confirm with you it's confirming the consciousness that you're in, right? So now, like, I say this because in hindsight, looking back, it's like things only really started to change. You know, at the end of 2022, when the first time I truly, truly, truly believed that I was going to do whatever the hell it took, you know, to build my life and build my reality. I just didn't know that you cannot begin this path of truth without learning how the world works, man. Like, you can't, like, you know, I mean, even Kanye speaks about this all the time. It's like, you can't get to the top without knowing that, like, truly how to get there. Not how they're telling you how to get there, not how YouTube's telling you, or a fucking institute, or a book, you know, or, you know, a religion. You know you want to get to the top, but to get there, you need to know the blueprint, right, of how the world works, the actual reality. You need to know the truth of everything first, right? I mean, I just want to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to build my reality, and I just wanted to be able to live life completely on my own terms, right? I didn't know that required true divine masculinity, and that required, you know, me to integrate the divine sacred king within, right? The divine royal child within. I had no idea. So 2 years later, 2024, or towards the end of 2023, I discovered Carl Jung and his research and this whole world of all these different psychologists, researchers and scientists and philosophers, all their schools of thought and knowledge, right? I never really went into Freud that much. I definitely just became attracted to the research of the Jungian psychologists, right? It just, to me, my experience was that, like, I could feel more truth, you know? I just knew, like, it's not that I liked everything, you know, because the truth was shaking me, you know, to my absolute core. It was the fact that I just found peace in the truth, right? That's how I knew it was the truth, you know, learning about, you know, how much of your behavior and how much of your reality was actually designed by your subconscious. I mean, different schools say, you know, up to 80%. No one really says under 80%, but it's more like a 90 to 95%. Most Jungians believe it's 95% of your physical behavior is controlled by the subconscious, right, which is unconscious. And then I got too deep too quickly, and I didn't understand. I mean, I read some of his books, you know, on the true self, self-discovery, and the archetypes, and I kind of just went too advanced, right? Before I discovered that there were actually psychologists. Most of them, they're all like Northern European, right? Barely any in English. It's all like German and Swiss, Dutch, or whatever. Pretty much the only English ones were in America. So I just started to learn about just like a basic introduction to what the research is about, right? Mapping out this subconscious, and my curiosity and my interest was just out of control. Like, I wanted to know how the hell could they possibly research something that doesn't even. I mean, it's like talking about what's at the bottom of the ocean, like literally, How could they map it out? How could they even access it? How do they even know what's going on in there, right? But it's decades and decades of studying human behavior, human psychology. Decades. I mean, he was like, I think he had like 60 to 70 years of research, and then all of these psychologists in America took the research and just advanced it, right? They took the method and his way of, his methodology of approaching the subconscious, right, scientifically, and they applied the method, right, and they slowly over, I mean, it took a century for them to map out the subconscious. I think Jung started writing his books, I think it was in like the late 30s, must have been, I think, his first one, but I'm probably wrong about that. Probably late 30s to early 40s. So almost 3/4 of a century, to map out the subconscious. They've mapped out it's the subconscious of, they call it postmodernism, right? They believe modernism and modernity was the death of religion and mythology and psychology, right? It's like when when governments became secularized, they lost consciousness of where, their behavior, like, it's like they lost interest, right, in why their beliefs didn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? It's like most of the communist societies and secular societies and governments, entered this new age of realization that maybe all of their religions and God consciousness and even becoming theists was just all too outdated and too they're just unconscious to how related to psychology it is, right? I mean, it's all psychology. It's everything, right? Mythology, religion, theology, philosophy. So their approach is to explain, like, how, human beings got to this level psychologically, right? This, like, explaining pretty much how the world is right now, the way it is, right? And they've managed to map out, literally, like I was explaining in the other video, how the subconscious is structured, right? And they're confident that they've mapped that out correctly, and they've written books and conducted scientific experiments through psychological treatment and therapy based off this knowledge, right? And it's been the most advanced level of understanding of how the human mind, human psychology works, that they managed to dive down to the absolute flaw of your subconscious mind, and they're able to, this is what the Jungian psychology really does. It gives a method to finding the cause of like a problem in your mind, right? Or just a problem in your behavior, and they find the absolute root cause, and then they link it to the behavior. And it's been so effective. I mean, it's the therapy that all these psychologists go to, right? Peterson always talks about Jung, but I'm surprised he hasn't really spoken a lot about his books. And Peterson never really speaks. He kind of speaks about archetypes, but it's not really the Jungian understanding, which I find weird. I don't know. He's all over the place, honestly, psychologically. But yeah, like he always loved talking about Jung and how it was, he's the psychologist for psychologists. He's the therapist for psychotherapists. Learning this psychology, you're learning the truth about everything. Like, it's like you told the universe, okay, I want to take the reins now. I'm actually ready to take control, right? And then it sends you straight to the path that you think you're going here, all right? Now I'm going to start understanding this business model, and now I'm going to start learning sales, and now I'm going to start, learning networking and, scaling and hiring and designing and whatever, right? And it's like, no. What are you doing? No. You want to take the reins. You're ready. You're ready to, okay, I'm going to take the reins now. I've understood now that I want to design my reality. And then it's like, okay, now we have to send you down a path for you to learn and understand how much of your reality you actually built, which is everything. It's impossible for you to want to start designing your reality if you don't already accept that you've designed the reality that you're currently in. So it will send you down that path, and depending on how much of that you already understand, it depends on how much of an existential crisis you're going to go through, right? I went through, when it came like psychologically, it was all right, you know what I mean? It was pretty damn painful, obviously, learning that, I put myself exactly in the position that I was in. It wasn't my parents, it wasn't my religion, it wasn't my community, it wasn't my city or the government or the country or my friends or my siblings or family. It was all me, right? And that was all right. I could manage that. What I couldn't manage is learning how much of my identity was linked to the reality. So I built a reality that I never intended, and I attached my identity to that, right? And then learning that was never really me in the first place. That I was never ever the person that I thought I was, ever. That sent me through, trauma is not even the experience, that was the deep existential crisis, It's like the universe kind of let me go at my own pace, It sent me down the path, but it's like it knew, right? It knows how difficult it's going to be. So it's like, look, here's the path. Good luck to you. Go at your own pace. Go at your own pace. Good luck. You know what I mean? And I went at my own pace. Even at my own pace, I couldn't bear it. I could not handle the truth, like I said in my other video, its truth is only from one source. it's only from God. Right? God is truth. All truth leads to the same source. All truth, everything. So you learn that truth, and the truth is unyielding, right? Everything yields around it, and everything has to yield out of its form on its way. So, whatever religion, whatever identity, whatever belief, whatever theistic belief, philosophical belief, psychological, anything, right? You yield and yield and yield as you come closer to the truth. And then when all of these, different entities come to this truth, right? They all discover the same thing. And then they choose what to do with it, right? It's Friday night. 12:40. They it brings death to the living, and it brings the life to the dead, So I've just accepted that it's going to take 100 times longer than I thought it would to try and elaborate the knowledge. And hopefully I want to do it, like my method is to upload as much as I can to be able to get you to kind of, paint out the picture, or just try and piece together all the bits of information, right, that I give, and you just try to understand it in a way that I'm trying to I want it to be easy for someone to get the grasp of what I'm trying to elaborate. There wasn't much explanation in this video. It wasn't to explain everything now. It was just my understanding now, reconsidering, and just taking a different approach, right? I'm just going to be explaining it bit by bit, right? Trying to give my understanding of just, how the universe works, how life actually happens, it's going to be a lot, it's going to be a lot, so it's good, I know there's going to be years and years with the content, so who knows where I'll be, I'll probably downgrade at the end of this lease if I can't be bothered working as much. I don't know, I might be in different settings. You'll see me from time to time just in different settings, like backgrounds, so all the content will be the same. I think that's it. It's long enough. Good luck to you, and see you next one. Good luck.